Why did the Vice President of India resign at this juncture? Faced a process of removal from the opposition leaders led by Mallikarjuna Kharge of Indian National Congress in Rajya Sabha. His tenure is about 5 years, but within 3 years he has resigned. Dhankhar submitted that the resignation is in terms of Article 67, Clause A of the Constitution of India. 2. During his tenure, Dhankhar faced an unprecedented motion for removal. Jagdeep Dhankhar's replacement. Yet, the Constitution does not specify who should perform the overall duties of the Vice President. Topmost priority is health, but clearly there is a far more to his totally unexpected resignation. The rule that allows India's Vice President to step down is to be eligible, a candidate must be a citizen of India. Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar, has resigned on July 21, 2025. My dear friends, this has actually sparked many questions. The first question that has sparked is, why did the Vice President of India resign at this juncture? Second, why the resignation was tendered at 9:25 p.m. on Monday, July 21. And subsequently, on July 22, 2025, at 12 p.m., the President of India, Dr. Draupadi Murmu, accepted the resignation of the Vice President of India, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar. My dear friends, all these questions are important questions, especially if you are preparing for UPSC or you are a law aspirant, you are practicing law or preparing for any of the government examination. My dear friends, this is the first time in the history of India, after the Constitution came into force, sitting Vice President is resigning from the post. Former Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar, in the last year, that is in December 2024, faced a process of removal from the opposition leaders led by Mallikarjuna Kharge of Indian National Congress in Rajya Sabha. My dear friends, when all these questions are opening up, the most important question, why Jagdeep Dhankhar resigned from the post of Vice President of India. Before knowing why he resigned, it is very important to understand the profile of Jagdeep Dhankhar. My dear friend, Jagdeep Dhankhar was born on 18th May 1951 in Rajasthan. He belongs to a Jat community. My dear friends, we all know Jat community is a very politically influential community in northern India, and he was a choice of leadership in many of the political parties. He has been part of Janata Dal, he has been part of Bharatiya Janata Party, and he was even part of Indian National Congress. As a face of the Rajya Sabha, being a chairman of the Rajya Sabha, having represented many of the political parties in the history, he was most acceptable chairman of the Rajya Sabha. But however, he was the first to face a removal action in December 2024, and he was the first Vice President of India to resign after a constitution came into force on July 21, 2025. My dear friends, Jagdeep Dhankhar was a practicing advocate, and he was even practicing before the Supreme Court and different high courts across the country, and he was designated as a senior advocate in 1989. My dear friends, in 1991, he was holding the charge of the Union Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs in Chandrasekhar government, and subsequently he was also the member of Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan, and he was also the West Bengal governor in 2019. Until then, he was practicing as an advocate in the Supreme Court. Post West Bengal governorship, he was elected as the Vice President of India in 2022. His tenure is about 5 years, but within 3 years, he has resigned from the post of Vice Presidentship. My dear friends, indeed, Jagdeep Dhankhar tendered his resignation as the Vice President of India to prioritize health and abide by medical advice, was said in his letter. In fact, in letter to the President, Dhankhar submitted that the resignation is in terms of Article 67, Clause A of the Constitution of India. He also expressed his gratitude to the President, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. I quote the exact words of the letter of the former Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar, when he resigned from his office. In his letterhead, Vice President, Republic of India, dated 21/7/2025. Respected Rashtrapati Ji, to prioritize healthcare and abide by medical advice, I hereby resign as the Vice President of India, effective immediately in accordance with Article 67, Clause A of the Constitution of India. I extend my deepest gratitude to Your Excellency, the Honorable President of India, for her unwavering support and soothing, wonderful working relationship we maintained during my tenure. I express my deep gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister and the esteemed Council of Ministers, Prime Minister's cooperation and support have been invaluable. I have learned much during my term in office. The warmth, trust and affection I have received from all the honorable members of the parliament would ever be cherished at and embedded in my memory. Deeply thankful for the invaluable experiences and insights I have gained as a vice president in our great democracy. It's been a privilege and satisfaction to witness and partake in India's remarkable economic progress and unprecedented exponential development during this significant period. Serving in this transformative era of our nation's history has been a true honor. As I leave this esteemed office, I am filled with pride in Bharat's global race and phenomenal achievements and hold unwavering confidence in our brilliant future. With deepest respect and gratitude, Jagdeep Dhankhar. This was the resignation letter drafted by Jagdeep Dhankhar, the former Vice President of India. My dear friends, at the outset of the resignation of Jagdeep Dhankhar, very important 10 points emerge. Point number 1. Jagdeep Dhankhar had undergone angioplasty at AIIMS, Delhi and was admitted for a few days in March. While he had appeared frail at some events, he remained active in parliament. That's a very important point to be noted. He did have health issues. 2. During his tenure, Dhankhar faced an unprecedented motion for removal. The first ever attempt in independent India to oust a sitting vice president. However, the motion was dismissed by Rajya Sabha. Deputy Chairman Harish once reported the news because there was no notice period within the winter session of the parliament, because it requires 14 days notice period to remove vice president by passing a resolution in the Rajya Sabha as well as Lok Sabha. The third important point, the government has not made any official announcement regarding Jagdeep Dhankhar's replacement yet. The constitution does not specify who should perform the overall duties of the vice president in the event of a vacancy. The constitution on the resignation of the vice president doesn't provide any kind of route or any alternative in case if the vice president resigns and it is accepted by the president of India. The fourth important point that lies ahead is, however, it does lay down a provision related to role of Rajya Sabha chairperson. So even though the vice president has resigned, the role of Rajya Sabha chairperson, who can be appointed to the Rajya Sabha, is a very important person as a chairman, stating that during the period of such vacancy, the constitution says the function is carried out by the deputy chairperson or other Rajya Sabha member authorized by the President of India. So the President of India can authorize any of the Rajya Sabha member or deputy vice chairperson can be appointed as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. My dear friends, according to the fifth important point, according to Article 66 of the Constitution of India, the vice president is elected by the electoral college comprising members of both houses of the parliament through a system of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. The sixth important point is ruling BJP-led National Democratic Alliance, which holds majority in the electoral college comprising members of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, is expected to deliberate on potential candidates in the coming days. And among the names being considered in Rajya Sabha is Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harish Vans, a Janata Dal United MP who has held the post since 2020 and is known to have the government's confidence. The seventh important point that emerged is, to be eligible, a candidate must be a citizen of India. To become the Vice President of India, he should have completed at least 35 years of age and qualified for election as a member of the Rajya Sabha. So whoever is qualified to be the member of the Rajya Sabha can eventually contest for the Vice President of India post. A person is not eligible if he holds any office or profit under the government of India or a state government or any subordinate local authority. My dear friends, the eighth important point is, a BJP leader said, we are still processing it, but I believe that the party will choose someone who is a solid choice and who is non-controversial, indicating that the discussion are underway on Dhankhar's successor. The ninth important point to be noted is, Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh said the sudden resignation of the Vice President and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha is as shocking as it is inexplicable. No doubt Mr. Dhankhar has to give topmost priority to his health, but clearly there is a far more to his totally unexpected resignation than meets the eye. The 10th important point that we need to understand is, Dhankhar joins B.B. Giri and Byron Singh Shekhawat as the only Vice President to have resigned before completing their terms. Giri in fact resigned in 1969 to contest the presidential election. He didn't resign because of the health reasons or without any notification. He wanted to contest for the presidential election. Accordingly, he resigned from the post of Vice President only for the purpose of getting elected as the President of India. While Shekhawat quit in 2017 after losing the presidential race. So it is the first time that the sitting vice president, actively involved in the work without any indication, resigns on July 21, 2025, and the next day it is accepted by the President of India. My dear friends, it is also important, people who are preparing for the UPSC and who are lawyers, to understand the implication of Article 67 Clause A of the Constitution of India, the rule that allows India's Vice President to step down. My dear friends, at this juncture, when Jagdeep Dhankhar, former Vice President of India's resignation, it is very important to understand about Article 67 of the Constitution of India. Article 67 of Indian Constitution provides for Vice President's tenure, removal and election to the Vice President. Article 67 of the Constitution of India covers the terms of office of the Vice President, and the Constitution of India is a supreme law that provides the outlines of the governance and defines the rights, powers and duties of the government and the citizens of India, as we all know. Article 67 covers the following provision. A, it covers about the tenure of the Vice President. B, it covers about the election of the Vice President. 3, it covers about the removal of the Vice President. My dear friends, Article 67 Clause A provides for a Vice President may, by writing under his hand addressed to the President, resign his office. And at this juncture, understand that this means Vice President can resign at any time by submitting a written resignation to the President. Once it is accepted, the resignation takes immediate effect. Who has to accept this? The President has to accept this. We all know that. My dear friends, the next important and the last question that comes is, who will be the next Vice President of India? From the date of vacancy, that is July 21, 2025, we have about 60 days to fill the vacancy of the Vice Presidentship. Now the question comes, who can be the Vice President? The Constitution of India doesn't provide any condition other than saying within 60 days you have to fill the vacancy of the Vice President of India office. The question is how? The Election Commission of India will announce for the official schedule for the Vice President election, and only through the election process the Vice President will be selected. The election process, three important aspects. One is by electoral college, and two, it is by proportional representation with a single transferable vote. The third important point to be noted, you should be Indian citizen and you should have completed the age of 35 years, and whoever is eligible to become the Rajya Sabha member can eventually contest for Vice President election. A very, very important point to be noted here is Rajya Sabha members, total Rajya Sabha members plus even nominated Rajya Sabha members can participate in the election process of the Vice President. Vice President being the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. My dear friends, Jagdeep Dhankhar, even though was a practicing advocate before the Supreme Court before he became the West Bengal governor, he was vocal about certain important issues in the country. In fact, he was critical about basic structure doctrine of which was brought under the Keshavananda Bharati of the state of Kerala. He also spoke about the independence of the judiciary many times, and he has commented about Article 142 of the Constitution of India. And these comments became more controversial in the country, and no Vice President in the history of independent India ever have spoken about all these aspects when they were in office. In fact, the opposition always said Mr. Dhankhar was the West Bengal governor, voice of the ruling government, BJP. All said and done, those who are preparing for the UPSC, those who are a law aspirant preparing for the judicial service examination, the practicing advocates and even common people should understand about these constitutional provisions backing the role of Vice President of India. My dear friends, in a political democracy, the role of Vice President of India, who is also a de facto chairperson of Rajya Sabha, has a very important role with respect to legislature. My dear friends, in Parliament, when the session starts, they start legislating, and of course, opposition mocks at the ruling government talks about the opposition. Beyond all this drama, a very important point to be noted, being a chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, the role of the Vice President is with an accountability, with lot of responsibility, and his decision is final with respect to accepting the resolution passed by the opposition as well as the ruling government. My dear friends, the critical role of the Vice President, even though we have a time of about 60 days, now the question comes, when will the election of Vice President happen? And the Deputy Vice Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, even though he may chair the Rajya Sabha, the question comes whether he will be effective as was Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar. Even though many people were critical about Jagdeep Dhankhar, he had a point to make on various issues in the country, especially with respect to many of the burning issues, considering like president role versus governor and independence of the judiciary. And also he spoke about various articles of the constitution. He had a voice in the parliament. The question comes, will this similar voice be heard in the days to come in independent India, as did the Jagdeep Dhankhar? My dear friends, I pray and hope for the health of the Vice President, former Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankhar, as he has quoted about his health issues in his resignation letter. I pray for his good health, and I'm sure his voice was always heard across the country when he made his opinions, when he made his point. Thank you. Signing off, Advocate Dr. M. Satyakumar.